Welcome to Magical Meetup Spooky Edition. I'm Candace.
And I'm Nicole. Around here, we celebrate Samhain, also known as Halloween, all month. Okay, so last week we talked about the Ouija board, which was very interesting. This week we are going to talk about Poppets, which will entail, in turn, talk about voodoo dolls.
Right.
Because through research, we have found out there is a misconception.
A huge misconception, I would say.
The good old Americas. I don't know about other countries and how they view voodoo or if they even view voodoo.
Right.
So we are going to talk about Poppets. So what are Poppets?
Depends who you ask around here.
Yes. So depends on who you ask, but for the most part, it is a doll that is made through fabric usually, and it usually is made for to look like a person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a little tiny doll.
And it's used mostly for spell casting and or manifestation.
Yeah, so sometimes we'll get into what you can do with it, but it can be used for multiple things. But as we have seen in media, it is often used as something that is evil and meant to hurt people. So it's one of the most commonly used implements in sympathetic magic, which follows along the theory that like creates like. Most of the shows that show a voodoo doll, it's actually a poppet.
Right.
So it's not an actual voodoo doll.
Before starting this research, I wouldn't have known the difference. I would have just assumed it was a voodoo doll because of how they have always shown it in movies.
Yeah, how they portray it and stuff. So poppets have been used around the world for a very long time. They're used in a number of cultures. That's why calling them voodoo dolls when they're not is very incorrect, because a voodoo doll is specific to voodoo, but poppets can be used in different religions, different cultures, different spiritual practices. But if it's called a voodoo doll, then it's just for voodoo.
Right.
But most of the ones that are made are actually just poppets. They're not voodoo dolls. There are many ways to create them. And they can be used to harm or heal, which we mostly only see harming ones.
Right, which is, to me, well, I guess people just want to be vindictive sometimes.
Yeah, they don't ever want to show the healing portions. Yeah, that's very rare for people to want to show the healing portion of it. But if you create one of a person, anything done to the poppet will affect the person it represents. So, which I always thought was just voodoo.
Me too.
But it's not. Sorry, go.
Oh, I was just going to say, which is probably why people are combining the two.
Yes. And that's why they probably don't recognize that. Even, how prop people get stuff wrong sometimes. We'll look at something and we'll be like, that's not how we do it, or something like that. But that's just as easy. They got a poppet and they call it a voodoo doll. And then nobody else does the research because it's just a scary movie when it's not correct, and then it's giving the wrong impression
for everyone.
And then people, like us who are interested in these things and learning about these things end up not understanding that what we saw in that movie wasn't the right thing until we do the research.
Yeah.
And not everybody wants to do the research and figure it out.
Right, because it takes a while to dig deep and find all the information and
correct sources and
right.
things like that. So, if you're not ready, so it is a magical tradition. Usually magical traditions discourage the use of poppets. But if you're not sure whether or not it's okay for you to use a poppet magic, you may want to check with someone in your traditional religion. Or culture or practice. So, if your grandma's the one that knows about it, then maybe check with her, because different religions or different things see them as different ways. Like we have some sources from Wicca, which they don't allow negative poppets. So they use poppets but don't allow negative
because
ones.
They think everything that if you cause harm, it's going to come back to you threefold.
Yeah. So you need to check with your people. So if you're Native American, maybe speak with your elders. If you just out here random lady, then you should just be careful with what you do.
And research.
Like us.
Yes.
So what can we make from it? You can do it in cloth, you can do it in fabric, you can make ones with clay, wax, wood. You can really do any material that you want, but you have to be able to allow a spot for you to feel it. So usually people feel it with herbs, stones, or crystals.
Oh, so not like feel it as in like
no, like feel FILL. So you can, fill it with bits of wood, paper, or anything else that suits your needs. In addition, the magical item is a good idea to include cotton or polyfill as a stuffing material if you're doing like fabric or stuff. Okay. So I'm sure you don't have to feel it, but if you're using it maybe for, somebody feeling better or things like that, you might want to do healing herbs, or you might want to do things like that or healing crystals.
Depending on the intention of
what
you're using
like what you're doing. Maybe you're doing it for your kid who's sick, so you probably, put some stuff that's good, for right. sickness or fever or things like that into it. But you need to make sure that wherever you store your poppets, they're in a safe space if there are likeness to you or your children or your family members, just so nobody messes with them.
Because you all know there's assholes around everywhere. So if the wrong person would get something that mm-hmm. you have created, especially for your 6-year-old or whoever, then they can do what you would call black magic or dark magic. Or they could be playing.
They could, just like we talked about, you go to the bathroom and you leave somebody in your house and maybe they're a friend and they want to play, just like we talked, play with the Ouija board and you open something, or play with the little doll that looks like you guys.
Right. Because they have no idea.
So they don't have any idea, so they end up messing with you, technically. Mm-hmm. So once you've created one, you need to connect with it. So people, connect with them. They usually, as we see in movies, they add hair sometimes mm-hmm. from the person's actual head, stuff like that. Because if you're doing it, we're going to speak on a healing, like we're healing. You want that to be a magical tool that you're using to help somebody. Because I just don't feel like we should be spending our energy on making something like this for somebody that we don't like when karma's going to get them anyways.
Right, and that's a lot of your energy that you're going to create and put out there for something negative. It doesn't make sense to me.
And my thing is, if you're into hexing, you're into stuff like that, then that's like your business. I support you. live your best life. But personally, we're going to only talk as if we're healing with a poppet. Just because I don't like how it makes me feel.
Right.
I can feel energy and it makes me feel icky when I like deal with other people's negativity or I spend too much time on that. So you can use it to heal, banish harmful people from your life, to bring abundance your way.
Nice.
And the choices are purely yours of what you would like. So you talked about how it could be a manifestation. So maybe it's a manifestation doll that when you sit with it, you manifest. And that kind of can be your meditation kind of.
I like that. That's actually really neat. So,
yeah.
Because people don't talk about the good side.
Yeah.
You know, like you
only known as the bad side.
Right.
So, most people, they think of a poppet and they automatically think of voodoo doll.
Right.
They have a negative portrayal. However, the use of dolls in magic goes back several millennia, back in the days of ancient Egypt. So, do you want to talk on the ancient Egypt?
Sure. So, okay, back in the day, go back, millions of years.
All the way back.
All the way back
to the dinosaurs.
You think they had dinosaurs then? I think that was before.
In Egypt?
Yeah.
No. I mean, before the humans were here, yeah.
Okay, anyway, this is why we have papers, everybody, because we'll be talking about spider monkeys and dinosaurs.
Exactly. Do you think spider monkeys were back then? Or a type of spider monkey?
Yes.
Anyway, sorry. Go. Go.
So, in ancient Egypt, dolls were often made to represent gods and goddesses and were used in temple. Like in the rituals, or in, they would use them and while they're getting ready, the tomb, how they, used to, do...
Put all their stuff in the tomb
and,
with them
make
and
it,
stuff.
Super magical and, all their goods and everything.
Yeah.
They would use it in those type of rituals as well.
Okay.
So, but then, if you move over to Europe, poppets were sometimes used in folk magic. And were believed to have the power to bring good luck or to curse one's enemies, if you look at it in a negative aspect. But
there was a lot of war at that time, so
that would make sense in that era or whatever. In some cases, poppets were even used as part of love spells, with the dolls being made in the likeness of the desired partner.
So I feel like that's where we get the, where it's like they have the hair and they want them to love them so bad, and then the love spell kind of comes in. So I have the Greek specifically. So it was uncommon for Greeks to use magic, sympathetic magic, in workings related to love or war. Christopher Freona, professor of classical languages and literature at the University of Chicago, is one of the foremost authorities on Greek magic today and says the Greek puppets called Kolosseoi, I messed that up.
I would have too.
Because they were called a different name, obviously in Greek, were sometimes used to restrain a ghost or even a dangerous deity, or to bind two lovers together. So in Iliad 2, the witch, written about 200 BCE, the tragic Theocytus refers to melting and burning wax dolls. He relates the table of Cymethea, rejected by Delphus, attempts to get her lover back with magic. So they were even talking about that in writings. So they wouldn't use it in war or anything. They would use it to restrain a ghost or bring two lovers together or restrain a dangerous deity. So
fun fact that just popped it. It's not really a fact. It's kind of a thought.
Yeah.
But, like the, what the hell is it called? It's a scary movie.
Mm-hmm.
Ed and somebody. Anyway, they have like the dolls that are possessed. Do you know which one I'm talking about? Anyway, there's like all these dolls or things that are possessed. I wonder if like it's coming. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Yes.
Like, okay, like Annabelle?
Yes, thank you.
Oh
God
my
dang.
gosh. Okay, so oh my gosh. Okay, so think about this. So we have Annabelle, right? Which is a very known. She wasn't depicted in the movie as the actual Annabelle doll. The actual Annabelle doll was a Raggedy Ann.
Yes.
So what if Annabelle is just a Poppette that was pre-made? Because they had the Raggedy Ann doll, and they just tied their spirit deity, ghost to it. So then they were able to get rid of her. But she was too strong to actually get rid of.
That is unreal.
Oh my gosh. What?
See, I can't be smart. I just couldn't get the words out. But I'm glad you finally got on the same
page. Dude. So basically, it's a Kollossoi. Colossio?
Yeah.
Colossio?
Where's it at?
In cursive.
Always? Yeah, that.
We don't know Greek, guys. We don't know Greek. So.
But we get points for trying.
Yes. If you are Greek or no Greek, I'm sorry for butchering
that. Because I'm sure we did.
Yeah. And it doesn't have where you can, pronounce it. So, it's just kind of rude at this point. But that is so good, though.
Yeah. And it's scary to think about because all of their movies that they've made are, over, real life stories.
Yes. So I wonder if people who did it just didn't know they were doing it.
Or maybe they did.
Or they did know. And they had done the research that we had done. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. Okay.
Can you imagine if you were the freaking deity or the spirit or anything
entity,
like that.
Yeah.
And you got stuck in a damn doll. I would be pissed.
I'd be so angry, especially if it was an ugly doll. I'd be like, you better make me kill or I'm going to cause hell. You make me kill. You keep me clean. You wash my clothes. You get me new clothes. I would be such a high maintenance doll. I'd be like, get it. I don't like it. I don't like that outfit.
I would laugh at you if you got stuck.
You got to take me to the. Oh my
Raggedy
God, I'd run you raggedy. You stuck me in a doll. I'd run you raggedy. I'd move everything. I would be a poltergeist in a doll form. I'd walk to different places and just sit in different places.
Real life Chucky doll.
Oh, 100%. Oh yeah. Okay, so the princess who played with dolls. So wax dolls certainly weren't limited to ancient classical world. The one-time Princess of Wales, Carolina of Bristwick, was married to the man who later became King George VI and evidently couldn't stand him. Okay?
Okay.
She spent many hours forming wax dolls of her husband and jabbed them with pins. Although there was no concrete evidence as to what this may have done to George, when Caroline ran off to Italy with her young lover, George didn't object. The royal couple remained married but lived separately until Caroline's death in 1821, according to the Witchcraft and Evidence in Early Modern English.
He was scared.
Oh, yeah.
He legit...
Because the royal family don't just let you run off with a lover.
They
would have murdered you.
Yeah.
They have done it before. And he was like, oh, you going to Italy with your young husband? Your young lover? He's like, you need a boat? I got your boat, girl.
You want food, too, on the boat?
You need allowance? I got you, girl. Just leave me the hell alone. She got that Poppet doll. Just hand it. You want me to... Can I leave?
Right.
Can I leave? Does your knees hurt? Because I've been pricking them all day long. Oh my gosh. She worked on that.
Wow.
So it was a wax doll. I'd be like, yeah, you can go.
Yeah.
I'd be like, bye.
Even if it wasn't affecting him, he probably was terrified.
Yeah, because she was continuously doing, like, she hated him so much, she spent hours making this doll. He's probably like, she gonna kill me in my sleep.
I know.
I'm not gonna wake up one day. Oh my gosh. Okay, do you have another group?
Okay, Poppets also have rich history in African spiritual traditions, including hoodoo and voodoo, which we're going to get into.
Yes.
In these traditions, Poppets were often used as a tool for healing, protection, and communication with spirits and ancestors.
Yes. So, I have also on Africa, but West African fetish magic.
Ooh, okay.
Which we have a fetish is said in our language is different than probably this, but it is called fetish magic. West African slaves brought with them a doll called a fetish when they were forced to leave their homes and come to American colonies. In this case, the doll is not so much representative of an individual, but is in fact possessed by spirits connected to the doll's owner. A fetish contains specific power and is typically worn or carried by its owner as a talisman. During American colony period, slave owners were allowed to kill any slave found with a fetish in his possession.
Oh, wow.
So it was more as a protection amulet, talisman, as bringing your spirits with you.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
They're already getting ripped away from, their homes and the area, and they are going to bring something with them.
One thing that they carry on them.
That they believe.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, no, we don't like that. We're going to kill you.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And you know what's crazy is I felt so connected to that when I read that, because I did my DNA test, everybody, and I have obviously I'm from the West African, West Africa, so the Congo was a big proportion, which obviously slave trade and everything, how I got here. And my other half is the colonizer, which is like England and Ireland. It's just a hot mess, y'all. But
that explains so much.
But I felt kind of connected to that when I heard that, they were bringing over things, because I care about my hair a lot, and ever since I had read how a lot of the crops that slaves had brought over was braided in their hair, their seeds and things like that, I've always felt really connected to my hair. But to have your religion / your spirituality stripped away from you, and then your children be indoctrinated by Christianity because that's all you could live by.
Right, that's all you had. Or we're told
this is fascinating to figure, to find this out and then, explore it. Because what if one of my ancestors, were killed because they did have a fetish doll, and, they didn't get to pass that on because it was something that was life or death situation. But that's very interesting to me. So I am going to probably research fetish dolls.
You'll have to fill us in, because I think that's really neat.
So we were talking about good old American hoodoo and voodoo, which are two separate things. So in America, we have hoodoo. What is hoodoo, you ask?
What is it?
Do you know what it is?
No, I'm asking you.
Oh, okay. So a traditional form of folk magic, the term hoodoo can have different meanings depending on who is using it and what their practice includes. So it's a form of folk magic and root work that evolved from African practices and beliefs. So some some people practice hoodoo, and some people practice voodoo. So the so many followers of modern hoodoo practices are African American. Many non-black practitioners are out there as well. However, the tradition's roots are typically found in the folkloric practice of Central and West Africa, and were brought to the U.S. during the time of slave trade. These magical systems are sometimes called hoodoo, but are also called conjure or root work, depending on the practitioner. So many hoodoo spells are related to love and lust, money and gambling, other practitioner applicates. There is also, in some forms of hoodoo, a variation of ancestor work. However, it's important to note that despite the use of magic and ancestral worship, hoodoo is not a pagan tradition at all. So
it's like a whole different practice.
So some are in fact Christian, some are even other religions, but it's a root work practice.
I think it's really neat that you can find some Caucasian practitioners, but that also, so I'm going to research that because that triggered something in me, because sometimes I think that just because it's in a certain area, other people can practice it. Yeah. But I think the ones that really live and breathe and voodoo, they probably see that as like, that's not for you. Yeah. So I think it's really interesting to go deeper into that one day.
And I've seen like voodoo practitioners where it's like, a white lady and she's speaking a different language and doing voodoo cantations and everything. But I know voodoo, you have to specifically study. It's a closed religion. Well, not a closed religion, but a closed practice. And you have to specifically go under like a high priestess and stuff like that. Right. So I don't know if hoodoo, you technically, I feel like it might be kind of like the Poppets. Like you should ask your elder or somebody like in your family.
People that are practicing it, maybe they have gone that route. Yeah. And maybe they got the okay to do that.
Yeah. And also, you kind of got to remember when you're doing certain things, you have to, people have a connection to it from the, my Chromebooks, my phone, what is it called? My laptop is dying. Wow, y'all. But it's very much, you need to think about what you're doing. Just like, there are some closed practices, you don't want to disrespect people by not knowing what you're doing. And then you get into a whole world of hurt because you out here doing stuff you shouldn't be doing. Right. So, that's a very good, thing is researching.
Just because you want to.
Just because you want to don't mean you need to.
Exactly.
Like, it might not be for you. Like, where I said, when I was talking about the fetish dolls, I felt connected to that. You don't feel connected to that. Like, right. You have no skin in the game. So, I'm going to tell you about the fetish doll that I researched and everything. But it doesn't mean,
like, I'm going to go out and do that. Because there's no... I think it's cool, and I want to know about it when you research it. Yeah.
But you don't have that connection
to that backstory.
And then also, if I end up researching and everything, and I'm into it and everything, and maybe I want to give something to her as a gift through my research and everything, that's fine too. I can give my friend a gift, even though it's not connected with her. But she's not going to be out here like, look what I got because of this. Yeah.
Look at what I did.
Yeah. I got that one black friend that does stuff. Like, she's not going to do that because not everything is for everyone. And, you know, gifting something that's meaningful to you is also okay. But gifting it to the right person is also something that you need to be aware of, because you don't want to be that token friend, like that token witchy friend. Like, I mean, she gave me a crystal, but she's kind of weird. Like, give it to somebody that's going to appreciate it.
That knows what it is and what
and what it means to you and stuff like that. Like, you cannot be into crystals, but if your witchy friend gives you a crystal, like, you know that that's them meaning something. And
that means something pretty strong to them.
Yeah, and they want to share that with you. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just definitely about respect and being conscious of what you're doing. So, what kind of things go into this? Oh, sorry. No, I was finishing talking about my hoodoo and voodoo. So hoodoo and folk magic used the poppets as a magical tool. It became popular in the Civil War. So there is some dispute as to whether the dolls are used at all in Haiti, which is the home of Voodoo, which is the religion. Okay. And a few sources disagree on whether the use of poppets is truly a Voodoo practice or not. However, the Voodoo Museum of New Orleans does stock a variety of dolls in their gift shop. Regardless of how you make your poppet, out of cloth, a chunk of meat, or a glob of wax. Remember, I heard the gas. Remember,
a chunk of meat.
Yep. Remember that poppets have a long tradition behind them, and that tradition is influenced by the magical practices of a wide range of cultures. Treat your poppet well, and they will do the same for you. Kind of like the Ouija board. Yep. You respect who you're communicating with. If you got a poppet, you respect your poppet, because
I think that's with anything in spiritual practice.
Yes.
If you put forth that respect and the effort of making that its own energy, knowing what it can do or what it can't do.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about voodoo dolls, actual voodoo dolls?
Sure. So, voodoo dolls make me nervous. And I think it's
culturally.
Yes. And I think it's because I'm like, ooh, I don't know about them. I shouldn't mess with them.
Yeah.
Like, that's always been my outlook on it, is that's not for me.
Yes.
And so
and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean culturally, like voodoo is culturally scary. I meant like culturally in America, we automatically see voodoo dolls as something that is negative and scary. And even how they depict New Orleans, which is a very voodoo prominent, I think it's the voodoo capital of America. Mm-hmm. It's a very prominent place. It's always seen as dark and mysterious, and they might sacrifice you and kill you.
Like, I don't understand why. Because I actually got down a TikTok hole of voodoo. And some of the stuff is really neat. Yes. Like, they went to I suck at names and places and stuff, but they went to like a market type thing. Yeah. And this lady went, and she was white, but she went and said, I'm trying to learn. Like, and they actually talked to her about like what they had, like monkey skulls, and they had like all this stuff, but they actually talked to her about like why they do that. Yeah. And after, it wasn't as scary. Well, but when you see it, you're like, oh my gosh. But
well, and it's kind of like, so I have a lot of indigenous peoples on my TikTok that I follow, Inuit people, like in Alaska and places like that. And I follow them, and they have they eat like seal or different things like that. and people will be on their comments like, you're horrible and you're gonna kill the population and everything, and they're like, no, like, we are literally allowed to do this because this is a part of our culture. This is a part of our eating. This is how we keep the animals, set and not overdoing it. And like our hunters know, and our hunters know when to stop and when to go, and how to appropriately hunt, because that is how they've lived for hundreds of years. And I think that's kind of like with voodoo is, people are very interested in talking with you about these things, but how they depict it in media is what scares everyone.
Right.
Just like, oh, you're going to eat all the, specific. I feel like it was walrus, or it was a lot of blubber. And they were very blubbery and very oily. It was something that people were like, oh my gosh.
But that probably, for their diet, was able to sustain themselves through
winter. Mm-hmm. And how she said it is, she was like, we used every part of it. Like everything down to the bones. They used every part of the animal. And that's why they're still allowed to hunt when we overhunt. And that's because we're trash.
And we're wasteful.
Yes. Right. And we don't use every part of it. Yeah. We want, hunters go out and they just want antlers. Like, they don't eat everything or use the hide and all those things. So it was very interesting. And that's really cool that she went and she was like, I want to learn.
And they even, so for her to buy anything, she had to go to, I forgot the terminology they used, but basically somebody that made decisions for them. And they used shells to dictate the price of what she was going to pay. Wow. So it was really up to who they were talking to with the things. So it was really neat.
So you could just, and I think that's super important that you just can't go in and buy stuff. It's not a novelty shop where you can go get a little trinket. It's, these are special to
their
our
culture.
Practice, our culture, and everything, and you need to respect it when you get it.
When you go to Louisiana, they have gift shops.
Yeah.
You can buy voodoo dolls up the butt. Some of that stuff I don't agree with. Because, yes, it's cool. That's why all the tourists go there.
Yeah, a white person definitely have those shops.
I'm
just kidding.
Shut up. I can't with you.
I am half white, everybody, but I like to make fun of Candace.
But if I would do it to her, she would hate me.
Because it's not acceptable.
Exactly.
This is reparation.
Whatever.
For my ancestors.
So, but they do it there in the shops. It's just kind of crazy, but I understand.
And it's just like when people buy Ouija boards, they don't know what they're getting into, and it's very
And really, all
difficult.
Those dolls that are for sale, yes, they're dolls.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily believe that the intention was put in there.
Yeah.
I really think it's mass produced.
Yeah, it doesn't have intention and love or maliciousness in it, depending on who's doing it and everything like that. So, okay. Voodoo. So, I found some tips about what the use of them are today.
Okay.
So today, voodoo dolls have been accepted as an effective form of sympathetic magic when you use items related or similar to the point of influence. And practitioners of the folk magic-like branch of voodoo may use them to create an image of themselves or others to use as a point of power for directing positive energies. You may also see voodoo dolls, in quotations, representing gods or spirits that are used on personal altars in the same fashion.
I like that.
So they... at this is the Voodoo Museum of Voodoo Museum in New Orleans, and they said, at our shop we have dolls that may be used in such a way for positive purposes only, to attract positive change in your life. which I like.
I do like that.
Like,
because
you know,
it's not like they're putting out all these dolls that are like, put pin here if you'd like a kneecap gone.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
if you want to be murdered, rip the head off. Like, no.
We don't need that stuff. So
we got
really
so
like
much
that.
bad in the world. We do not need any more.
Gosh.
Which we are not. If you are a chaos witch, or you are somebody who does more on the edge kind of stuff, hexing and things like that, like, that's fine. But obviously you're probably somebody who has paid attention and know what you're doing.
Right.
And you're not somebody that just buys it and decides sticking pins in it is a good idea.
Yes.
Like, you're probably a actual, smart person that knows what they're doing. But there's some people that are like, oh, I hate Becky. Let me get this, and it's Becky, and I'm gonna stab it. Like, what?
But that's because of movies.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
We've all grown up with, like, stupid movies that, bunch of mean girls, and they get it all, and they're like, this is so-and-so.
Or I see a lot of, it even came up in the Gypsy Rose thing, where it was like, the mom got like a cow's tongue and put it like in a jar and some stuff.
Oh, wow.
And she was like trying to do a voodoo curse or something. Why are we messing with any of that? You don't be out here just cursing people for like out of another person's culture, religion / practice. Like, you don't know what's happening.
That's nuts.
Like, what? And so, like, you don't just wake up one day and it's like, you know what I should do? I should curse someone. It'd be a great idea. Like,
yeah, that sounds
like
fun. Yeah, no, we don't do that.
Yes, no. So there is a little bit of history on the voodoo dolls. I know I talked about the hoodoo dolls, but the voodoo dolls, in modern times, voodoo dolls are inseparable from the public idea of voodoo, which we've been talking about this whole time. Largely irrelevant to voodoo practice as a religion or spiritual path, voodoo dolls become linked with our traditions through Western popular culture and media. However, the concept of a human-shaped efficacy has been around for millennia and was predominantly used in witchcraft and folk magic, usually referred to as Poppets. Then Western witchcraft practice became merged with the New World black magic of voodoo through movies and novels during the early 20th century. Historically, voodoo dolls have no relation to voodoo as a religion, either in ceremonies or otherwise, but are similar items with nails or pins in them may be found in the Congo region, the fetish dolls of Africa in the form of, these are different, Nakandi. These are used to enforce oaths, community justice, and blind contracts between various parties. Many more instances of dolls in the form of people and containing personal effects are found in European stuff. The rich and diverse history of voodoo dolls spans multiple continents, traditions, and cultures, much like the spiritual melting pot of New Orleans. Voodoo dolls in modern use are born from the idea that best practice is the one that works. So they're not even with the voodoo, like used in voodoo religion and ceremonies. So it's just the puppet.
Isn't that crazy how like, it's all just kind of jumbled and messed up? Because
they kind of took voodoo as seeing it as a negative. But technically, if you're doing the one that we see in the movies that have like nails and stuff in it and pins, they would be closer to the Congo region in Africa, which would be a Nakandi.
Okay.
Which is, I'm guessing, more of a, not a fetish doll, where fetish dolls were more of a bring the spirits with me and like protection. Mm-hmm. That one would probably be for like war, enemies, things like that.
Right.
They're kind of mixing things up. So
since it's a Halloween spooky episode.
Yes, I saw what you...
I want to end it with a story.
Okay, tell me.
So, with research, voodoo museums in New Orleans say zombies are real.
I think they are.
Okay, I do too. But I wanted to, let me go back down to where it is. Bear with me. Elevator music.
Just hanging out, guys.
Okay, so I am going to. Is that Haitian? Is that how
Haitian.
Haitian? Oh, see, I murdered the word.
Haiti is the country. Haitian is the people.
Okay, so the slaves.
Yes.
If they defied their masters during this time, they would be given a powerful neurotoxin potion that would induce a coma-like state. This is where they think the zombie thing came from, okay? They would then be buried and left in the ground for several days as the toxins wore off and they experienced the sheer horror of being buried alive.
Oh my gosh.
They were then dug up and given a new mixture of neurotoxins that induced a trance-like daze, making further attempts at deceptions or escape virtually impossible, while being assured that future misbehavior would result in the same underground punishment. Isn't that freaking nuts?
That is crazy.
That is
that's
deranged.
Literally torture.
Like that. Look at Goosebumps.
You have goosies.
Like, it's so scary that people are that evil.
Yes.
But like some of that stuff, that's where they get like why they believe in zombies because people.
Things. Yeah, no, I definitely believe that there are people who do testing and concoct things like that potion that make people zombies.
Yeah. Like, even today.
Yeah. There's 100% people who have made things and tested on humans that
because
they shouldn't be.
Are crazy.
Well, like at some point we're gonna do the Crescent, but they found all kinds of testing stuff that was there, and he was just testing on.
And he wasn't even a doctor.
No,
like he was probably a psychopath.
Yeah,
that was a serial killer. Yeah, basically in that time era, and
yeah. Ugh. So yeah, I definitely believe that's wild.
It is, but I thought I'd leave it on a scary.
That is scary. So just think about that next time somebody tells you they're going to give you a potion.
Or a drink. Don't take the drink.
Don't take the drink.
Oh, God, you brought me Starbucks today.
I did. I poisoned her. No, I'm just kidding. When would I have time to poison you?
True.
And you're already done Starbucks.
You would probably poison your own drink on accident.
I'd just poison us together.
Okay.
I'd be like, I don't know which one I poisoned. Let me poison the other one. They're either double poison or one, or both of us are poison. Yeah. So this was very cool.
I like this one.
I found it super interesting. I'm gonna definitely look into the fetish dolls and really see what that entails.
And tell us about it.
Yes. Well, it's been a good week, and I can't wait to see you next week. Do you know what we're talking about next week?
I think we're going to talk about Northeast Oklahoma lore.
Ooh, yeah.
And of course, we don't have time to hit on everything, but we're going to hit on some stuff.
We don't have everything, we can't hit on every type of lore around here because there are a lot. But it will be a good time. So tune in next week for some lore. Bye.
Bye.